Good morning, everyone. My name is Ben. I'm the president of the Montreal section of HKCBA, the Hong Kong Canada Business Association. Uh, as you already know, probably Hong Kong Canada Business Association is one of the oldest and biggest commercial bilateral association here in Canada, in the Asian community, specifically in Hong Kong. We're under the Federation of Hong Kong Business Association worldwide, which we have about 13,000 members. In Canada, we have 8 chapters, including Montreal, and in Montreal, we have over 200 members. So the mission of the HKCBA is really to expand the commercial relationship between Hong Kong and Canada, as well as throughout Asia, using Hong Kong as a platform for advancing this objective. And we also promote a very strong business and community network within our membership across Canada through our programs. So welcome today to the Life Science in Quebec and Hong Kong and Asia webinar. We're going to talk about the opportunities for funding, collaboration, and research in this particular industry. The panel discussion is basically giving the opportunity to Canadian companies to identify new collaborations or funding opportunities in Hong Kong. And we'll also, throughout the panel, to present agencies that assist in this particular industry, and also case studies on how Canadian companies can grow their business leveraging Hong Kong's historical role in this domain. So this panel and webinar will be recorded throughout the whole hour. And for those of you who speak French, bonjour and bonsoir tout le monde. And if you would like to ask questions in French, please feel welcomed. But this webinar will be mainly carried out in English. So without further ado, let me introduce Ivan Lam, the Director of Strategy CEO Offices of the Hong Kong Applied Science and Technology Research Institute. So Ivan, please take the floor.
Thank you, Ben, for the introduction. Good morning, everyone. And for those of you joining from other parts of the world, good afternoon and good evening. My name is Ivan Lam. I'm the Director of Strategy at the Hong Kong Applied Science and Technology Research Institute, or ASTRI in short. It's a pleasure to be here today. ASTRI is a government-funded applied technology R&D center here in Hong Kong. We're not for profit, and our mandate is to help businesses based in the city by enabling them with the technologies they need so they can operate more efficiently, create better customer experience, and be more prepared to expand. Now, if you're a Canadian-based company, technology-based company in Canada, looking to expand into markets beyond North America and into Asia, for example, there are really 3 key reasons why Hong Kong is the place to be. As a start, Hong Kong is Asia's most Canadian city. There are 300,000 Canadians living and working here, and I'm one of them, by the way. There are more than 100 Canadian firms with local offices here, including major banks and Canadian insurance companies as well. And that's not counting startups in the city that are funded by Canadians. So naturally, there are very strong economic and cultural ties between the 2 economies. Second, we're known to be a free economy with world-class infrastructure and ecosystem. Among other things, there are very good IP protection, access to capital, top talents at lower cost than North America, very mature logistics and supply chain ecosystem, as well as unparalleled market access into the rest of China, as well as Asia. So also, Hong Kong plays a pivotal role as an innovation and technology hub in the region. And that leads to my 3rd point. We have a vibrant innovation and technology ecosystem. 7 unicorns here in Hong Kong, and in 2019, there was an equivalent of over $1 billion Canadian invested into startups based in the city. The government has committed an equivalent of more than 17 billion Canadian into innovation and technology initiatives, including resources and favorable policies to help companies create breakthroughs through R&D activities. Now, Hong Kong as ASTRI, as Hong Kong's largest R&D center, It has been a trusted partner helping foreign companies penetrate this market, leveraging our technology expertise and government support. Now, as our name suggests, we do applied research. That means whatever demand-driven technology innovations we come up with, they're 100% commercialized. And we have a team of 600 R&D engineers, and they're experts in 3 types of technologies. Intelligent technologies, that includes AI, robotics, and data analytics. Connectivity technologies that focus in 5G, IoT, and sensing technologies. As well, trust-enabling technologies, which include blockchain, cybersecurity, and biometric authentication. And our engineers are collaborating together to create applications in 5 major core areas, which include smart city, financial technologies, fintech, health technologies, intelligent manufacturing, and application-specific integrated circuits. Now, companies as big as Intel, global banks, hospital authority, for example, have collaborated with us. And we've also helped startups grow and eventually became listed companies. We're project-based, and we basically combine our existing IPs, our expertise, and our research capabilities to help address the needs of our partners. Now, once the project scope is confirmed, the government would then provide assistance in terms of headcounts and co-funding options. When a partner pays for more than 50% of the project cost, the IP goes to the partner. To make things more attractive, whatever amount the company spend on R&D, there's about 40% cash rebate provided back to the company. And the remaining amount would then be eligible for as much as 300% profit tax reduction. So over the past 20 years, we've transferred about 800 technologies to the industry. We've got about 900 patents awarded. And because of our strengths in communication and all these technologies, and be able to commercialize them into industry, we're actively collaborating with universities, as well as other R&D organizations in Hong Kong, in mainland China, as well as overseas, so that we can help bridge the gap between ideas in the lab and the industries. So in short, if you're looking for a technology partner to more effectively penetrate the Asian market, we're here to help. And I will be happy to answer any questions you might have later in the session. But now let me turn it over to May Win, Export Development Canada, to introduce her organization. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is May. I'm from EDC. Let me share the presentation to you. Okay. So who is EDC? EDC is a Crown corporation with 2,000 employees from around the world, whose mission is to help Canadian companies go growth and succeed outside of Canada. Last year, all of our clients export for $105 billion worth of goods to outside of Canada. And contrary to the belief, 84% of our clients are from SME. Just to give you an example of what we can do, one of our clients, Oligomedic, asked us for help so they can go and export outside of Canada. So Oligomedic, what they do is they are making injectable gel that can be injected into cartilage to reduce invasive procedure. So basically what they need is that they have new contract and they need working capital to be able to support the new contract. So we come in and guarantee part of the line of credit to the banks. So the banks have enough comfort to give them the line of credit that they need in order for them to finance productions so they can export. As well, one of the problems that they were having is that they have stock outside of Canada and they have receivable from their affiliate that's outside of Canada as well. As you know, banks inside of Canada do not normally marginalize stock from outside of Canada, or receivable for outside of Canada as well from affiliate. So basically what we did is that we came in, we guaranteed a line of credit, and we allowed the banks to margin all stock from outside of Canada, including stock in transit. As well, for the receivable from the affiliate, we were able to insure the receivable. So the banks will have enough comfort to give them a value of 90%, even though they are receivable from affiliate. As well, the client requests open terms. Okay. Open terms carry a risk because if the client doesn't pay, then Oligo is in trouble. So basically what we did is that we came in and we insured the receivable of Oligo, which means that if the client doesn't pay, then we're going to go ahead and pay them 90% of the value of the receivable. So by doing so, it allows Oligo to have access to a better margination, a bigger marginations, and therefore they were able to have enough money to be able to fund for those contracts. Solutions. Basically, we have three main solutions that we give to our client. Insurance. Basically, it's very simple. If your client doesn't pay, we're going to go ahead and pay 90% of the value of the receivable. Okay. Financing. What we do is that we support the banks. So basically, typically, we're going to go in and guarantee a percentage on the loan. For example, up to 75% of the line of credit, to give the banks enough comfort that so that we'll go and issue those facilities to help our exporter export. However, there are situations where even with our guarantee, the banks is not comfortable issuing the facility. Then EDC can come in and look into financing the company directly by ourselves. Okay. One of the problems that our client has is that when they go to a new country, they have a lot of questions, right? What we have is we have a program, a knowledge program, Export Help, that allow clients to ask any question related to exportations. So basically, it's very simple. You have a question before you export, you send us an email, and we have a team in Ottawa to do research so they can try to answer to your question and support you the best that you can so you can go and have your first contract outside of Canada. So basically, in a nutshell, EDC is there to help you export. And if you're planning to export or if you're planning to look into exportation, do not hesitate to call us so we can so we can sit down and see what we can do in order to help you to export. Now I'm gonna let Alex Z take over the rest of the presentation.
Right. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Just give me a second. I will set up the system. All right, now you should hear me better. Let me share my screen. Hi, everybody. My name is Alex Javrankov. Can you hear me okay? Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear, Alex. You're doing very well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So I will introduce the company. Sorry about that. I'm calling from quarantine and I'm in Shanghai currently. I'm permanently based in Hong Kong, and I'm Canadian. Proud to be one. Did my 2 undergraduate degrees at Queen's University in Canada, and I must say that in Hong Kong there is a very substantial Canadian community. When we have an alumni meeting, there is usually, a dozen people or half dozen people from Queen's University at least. So great pleasure to be in Hong Kong. Highly recommend everybody, moving there, especially now after the security law has passed and those rioters are under control. Very, very happy to be there. So I'll present our company very briefly. So we are an AI company focusing on AI-powered drug discovery. We've raised 52 million to date from some of the world's top investors in biotech and AI. We have about 120 employees worldwide, 80 AI engineers, very few of them in Hong Kong. Actually, also, if you are looking for talent in Hong Kong in this area, unless you are doing something quite straightforward, like sometimes image recognition that's out of the box, it will be very difficult for you to find talent there. So if you are from Canada and if you want to move somewhere to get a great job, Hong Kong is a very good place because there is lack of talent in this area. We specialize in target discovery, novel small molecule generation. We make novel molecules using AI. We use generative adversarial networks and reinforcement learning as our core technology. So think about it as AI imagination. Think about deepfakes and AI strategy. Think about AlphaGo. So we combine those two to make great molecules with specific properties from scratch. They do not exist in natural chemical space. We have over 100 peer-reviewed research papers. So if you find us on PubMed or Google Scholar, you should be quite impressed. We are usually the originator of the IP. We invent a lot of methods that we use. We're not just using technology out of the box. Some of the work that we have been doing in 2016 was just recently highlighted by MIT Technology Review as top 10 breakthroughs of 2020. Many of the designs are patentable. We focus on target discovery, generative chemistry, and clinical trials outcomes prediction. So trying to bring the entire kind of end-to-end drug discovery process into one simple platform using next-gen AI. We are also providing AI software to big pharmaceutical companies. We just started doing this summer. And by the end of this year, 5 of the top 20 pharmaceutical companies will have our software. We actually underestimated the demand. So right now it's selling like hotcakes. Turned out that it's a very hot space. People like it. We also partner with big pharma companies to design molecules for them or identify novel targets. And we have the internal pipeline. So that's where the major source of value. We have 7 therapeutic programs in fibrosis, oncology, metabolic diseases, and age-related diseases. Some are nearing IND enabling stage. So next year we hope to go clinical. So it's pretty advanced drug development pipeline. A lot of the drug discovery effort is done in China, in mainland, in Shanghai, and that's where we use a lot of contract research organizations. And that's another benefit of being in Hong Kong because you are in the same time zone. If you look in the past and look at how the technology industry developed, the technology industry started in Shenzhen as contract manufacturing, and later it's now the heart of innovation in technology. I think biotechnology is going to go the same route. So it's very important to be in China, regardless of what you hear on the news. You may like it or not, but it's going to be great. And Hong Kong is a great place in China where you can build a very solid business, amazing culture, amazing weather, great people. So we use our core technology, generative adversarial networks, to partner with large corporations like Pfizer, Boehringer Ingelheim, Astellas, Beijing Tide, but we also now support the Chinese small molecule developers, and we just partnered with CTFH, Beijing Tide, and a few others. We'll be announcing a few of those partnerships. I think that currently there is a lot of great talent going back to mainland and also being trained in mainland in biotechnology. So it's hundreds of thousands of people, really well skilled and very dedicated, very hardworking. You would never find anybody as hardworking as the Chinese in the mainland. So they work weekends and evenings and nights and produce great work in biotech. So that's one of the reasons to be there. And I think that's going to be an explosion in biotechnology that will help everybody in the world to live longer and better. We use the end-to-end pipeline, as I've mentioned. So we focus on target identification, identifying mechanisms of disease. We have generative chemistry capabilities that allow you to very quickly generate the molecules with specific properties that do not exist in clinical pipelines or in a known chemical space. And we also predict the clinical trials outcomes for primarily hedge funds and banks. We try to encompass pretty much every aspect of the traditional pharmaceutical drug discovery, drug development. If you know this area, usually it takes about $3 billion to go from discovery to launch of the product. And there is 90% failure rate. So it's the most inefficient industry on the planet. Also just because biology and chemistry are extremely complex. So we can do target hypothesis generation, identify the new mechanisms of disease, and very quickly generate molecules for those protein targets that we identify in the mechanisms. And you can basically make bets much quicker and pass it over to the specific domain experts in a specific disease for development or develop it yourself. So we use advanced AI to streamline this process. If you like to go on our website, you'll see this diagram. Many of the pieces behind this technology are supported by publications in top peer-reviewed journals. And we really like to partner with pretty much everybody. We're extremely collaborative. Love Canada, would love to collaborate more with the Canadian companies, especially specializing in drug discovery, drug development, and funds that are betting on biotechnology companies. We can provide clinical risk assessment and portfolio triage. We can discover novel targets, especially using our Pandomics tool, novel small molecule design, and we can partner on our internal programs. So thank you very much. I'll skip a few slides because I'm over time. Just wanted to show you maybe one interesting slide in deep learning. So if you look at the evolution of AI, some of the concepts go back to the 90s. And generative adversarial networks, those technologies that are now used for deep fakes, like generation of synthetic faces with specific properties, we use them for molecules, for molecule generation. This technology is pretty new, and actually it came out of the work of Ian Goodfellow. At that time, he was at the University of Montreal, and Yoshua Bengio. And actually, I must say that most of the top leaders in AI are Canadian in one way or another. There's three fathers of AI are from Canada, Jan LeCun, Yoshua Bengio, and Jeff Hinton. And we started using this technology for small molecule generation in 2015, 2016, published a bunch of papers in this area, and performed the first experimental validation of this technology. We actually synthesized and tested the molecules. And developed a platform that now integrates this technology, and we now allow to the others to use this technology, the big pharmaceutical companies. So I must say it was a very tedious amount of work, and we put a lot of resources and made a lot of risky bets into this technology. Nobody thought it's going to work. In 2016, 2017, people were laughing at us. Now everybody is using it. So it's a great practical application of AI. And I hope that Hong Kong and Hong Kong government will realize that that's a useful thing to support. I think it's when you move there, you will face a lot of bureaucracy. People do not really understand the visionary applications, and you would need to wait until some of the mainland programs propagate into the region to be able to take advantage of the new Greater Bay Area initiatives. So hopefully we'll be able to partner in some of those areas with internationally and provide more services out of Hong Kong. We also substantially reduce the cost of drug discovery, drug development to basically a fraction of what it used to cost. Yeah, we have a lot of internal programs. So one of the really cool projects that I can show that is not available in public domain currently, we haven't published this. We have the first known case, to my knowledge, where generative AI, the same AI that was used for deepfakes, was used to identify novel targets in fibrosis. Fibrosis is a very important disease. Actually, it's very important biology, pretty much transpiring in every part of the body and also during aging. So we've identified novel targets in liver fibrosis and also lung fibrosis, generated small molecules for those targets, and completely validated the target in vivo and in vitro, so in several animal models. So this is the timeline. So from March 2018 to January 2020, we managed to go full cycle. Usually it takes about 5 years. So yeah, in COVID, we're pretty active, and we currently have about 50 nanomolar inhibitors of 3C-like main viral protease. It's a protein responsible for viral replication. So currently we're looking to do in vivo efficacy studies, and hopefully next year we'll be able to show some molecules that are very, very promising in COVID for treatment and prevention. So currently there are no good known inhibitors of C3-like main protease, and we're going after this target. But of course, we actually have the entire portfolio of small molecules targeting multiple areas that can help with COVID. So this is my contact information, alex@insilico.com, or you can add me on WeChat. Very collaborative, very international. We try to take advantage of every regional capability and try to hire talent where it's abundant. Love Hong Kong, love China, so highly encourage everybody to come here and work together. Thanks so much, and thanks for inviting me for this conference.
And now we'll move on to Nassif.
Thank you, Dimitri. So my name is Nassif. I'm the technical account manager at Kinova. I'm sharing my screen now. So at Kinova, we make robots, but we make robots not to replace people, but to empower people and to help them in their everyday life. And this is at the core value of the company. And I would love always to tell a story about how the company started. And I have this cool video here. So everything started by when the uncle of the founder and the CEO of the company, his name was Jack, the person that we see in this video. So he was living with a muscular dystrophy, and that means he cannot pick up objects with his hands. His arms will have unintentional movements, so it's difficult for him to open a door, to eat, to drink, to do everyday tasks. So he started by inventing a kind of arm that he placed on a wheelchair, the one that we saw in the video. He used everything we can find in a house, like wires, parts from bicycle, and he built that kind of mechanical electrical arm. And when the founder of our company finished his engineering, he decided to take that arm and push it a bit forward, making it as a robot. And that was the idea behind the launch of the company and the beginning of a new robot called the Jacko. So what you see now in the picture is a second generation of our robotic arms that are used on wheelchair. And this was the idea that started the company. So what you see here, the company was founded in 2006. The first product made by the company was Jacko, a robotic arm used to be installed on a wheelchair and help people in their life. So if we believe that we want to empower people, we cannot be limited to border, and this is why you see very soon in 2010 we had our first international agreement in Europe, in Netherlands, to be helping people there, people with disabilities, people on wheelchair, by installing robotic arms so they can live their day as normal as they can. As you see now, we created the robot. We have a great product, but the question always is how we can use the product, even if it's very easy to use robotics at Kinova, because we use very simple way to control it. For example, the robot next to me, I use an Xbox joystick, which is everyone can control a robot very easily. That means, like, for example, for a person who cannot move his arms properly, if he wants to eat or he wants to drink, they always want to move the robot using the joystick with the fingers. For example, to eat, they have to do multiple movements. With the robot, they can eat, but it's not as easy as if we can have an application, for example, that will help them to eat automatically. So this is the idea where we launched in 2012 the Department of Innovation and Research. And the idea is to work with professors, researchers, and universities about how we can develop application. So, for example, if someone wants to eat, he can just tell the robot, "Okay, now I want to eat." So, and the robot will know what to do and how to feed the person. If he tell him, "Okay, I want to open the door," so he doesn't need to control the robot using a joystick to go and open the door. So this was let's say what opened the market for Kinova, instead of just working in a very limited market. So now we had partners everywhere in every major university around the globe to help us develop and help us in our mission to empower people. Our products was as great as they were for people with disabilities. Professors loves our product because we use an open source software, which means they can do whatever they want, and which moved our products from just being used in the medical assistive devices to products where they can be used in hazmat applications, where we need to send an arm remotely to not send someone and put his life in danger because of a chemical or dangerous products, in agriculture, for artificial intelligence. So this opened the market for Kinova for very like unlimited possibilities they can be done with the arm. In 2016, Kinova decided, if you are able to help people, to help professors, why can't we also help doctors? And we launched the medical arm, which is a device helping assisting doctors in their surgical applications. If I move a bit. So today, as you see, we have offices all around the globe, Canada, USA, Europe. We had an office in Shanghai, China. Today, we are over 250 employees. And as I was mentioning, we are working with partners everywhere around the globe, all major universities, to work on product that can improve people's life. So we started with the first robot, Jacko, and what you see in the picture is our third generation of robot Gen 3, which is was designed for research. So the first robot was designed for helping people on wheelchair. It was used by professors, but we decided to make a completely new robot for professors. This is our Gentry Light. As you see in these pictures, you can see some applications of our Jacko arm installed on wheelchair. What you see here is the joystick that you use to control the arm. Now the person can live his life very normal. He can drink by himself. He can eat by himself. He can shave. He can do whatever he wants. I'm not saying it's as using your normal hands, but usually someone living with this kind of disease, to scratch his nose, he needs the help of someone else. So imagine how big the improvement is if you can drink by yourself, eat by yourself, and you don't need just wait for someone to feed you. So psychology and for your life, it's much easier. What you see here is as well a device that we use for feeding people. So instead of using a robotic arm, that's a smaller device that we use for feeding people. That's a mechanical arm support for people who can still use their hands but need some bit assistance. And as I was mentioning, empowering people is at the core value of the company. We do not want to use robotics to replace people, but we want to use whatever we can, innovation, creativity, everything to empower people and still be human. Thank you so much, and please let me introduce you to Dimitris, Senior Manager, Innovation and Technology, Invest Hong Kong. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Nassif, and thank you to all the panelists, Ivan, May, and Alex as well, for the terrific presentations. I think they were very insightful, and we see that there's quite a bit going on between our two economies, both Canada and Hong Kong. And now we'll get into the panel discussion to better understand what your experiences have been both within Canada and Hong Kong, but also the interaction between Hong Kong and Canada, as well as the mainland Chinese market. So I'd like to start off by first a question for Ivan. During your presentation, you mentioned that health tech is one of the 5 research initiatives of your R&D Center. Could you share a couple success stories in that area?
Yes, of course. As the designated R&D Center in Health Technologies, we've been leveraging our expertise across AI, robotics, communications, sensing, and cybersecurity to help our clients enhance the quality of healthcare products and services offered to their customers and to the stakeholders. So there are a few areas that we have developed, and I'll just highlight a couple. In diagnostic solutions, for example, leveraging AI and advanced image analytics, we've helped medical system development companies to enhance the quality and the accuracy in the screening cervical cancer and gastric cancer, renal biopsy, as well as capsule endoscopy. Now, speaking of endoscopy, I had a traditional one done years ago, which was very uncomfortable, to say the least. Capsule endoscopy is not new, but we've added a few things on top. We've doubled the battery capacity so it lasts longer. Second, we've added an external control so the doctor can pilot the capsule inside the patient's system, making sure that the camera doesn't miss anything. And of course, the third being the ability to process 60,000 images, leveraging AI, improving the accuracy and efficiency of diagnosis. Another example of innovation in the healthcare domain is perhaps focusing on preventative and special cares. For example, we've helped a partner customized an unobtrusive alternative method to monitor heart activity using ballisticardiographs. So making sure that it's workable in a very noisy environment like Hong Kong. Unlike Canada, Hong Kong, there's a lot of noise everywhere, and the traditional stuff just didn't work. We've also enabled a senior care center with a multifunctional digital platform that's equipped with technologies like electronic waistband, special bed sensors, healthcare applications, and interactive games. So we can provide the residents better quality of life, and it's enabling caregivers the ability to offer more proactive care for the seniors. So just we've done quite a few, and just an appetizer for everyone, so you get appreciation of the level of research that we've been doing.
Fantastic, Ivan. That sounds like some very successful projects that have happened in Hong Kong, and these are obviously many of the companies that you've mentioned are also foreign companies. So foreign companies do have access to ASTRI services when they do set up in Hong Kong. Is that correct?
Yes, definitely. Our mandate is to help companies grow in Hong Kong or via Hong Kong. So if there's a foreign company, as I mentioned, wanting to expand into Hong Kong, we would welcome the opportunity to have a dialogue with them to see if there's any R&D needs as ASTRI could complement. Health tech is one of our focus, obviously, and we would typically start with exploring business pain points and or the company development plan, and see how our engineers might be able to come up with innovations and technologies to address them. From there, we can scope out a project with a price tag to it. And remember, we're not for profit, so it's cost-based. Our partner has various options thereafter. They can pay it in full, or they can pay as little as 25%, and the government would then subsidize the rest. Now, when the partner pays more than 50%, the IP goes to them. Otherwise, ASTRI will hold the IP on behalf of the government and license to other people as needed. Now, the good thing is, regardless of the business model, a partner is eligible for 4 free headcounts, which Alex mentioned about. There's a lot of good talents here in Hong Kong. On top of that, there's 40% cash rebate and enhanced profit tax reduction for the amount of money that is spent on R&D. So, for example, if the project is $5 million, Hong Kong, the first $2 million spent on R&D will get a 300% tax credit, and then the remaining 3 million will get also a 200% tax credit. So altogether, there's 12 million tax credit that goes against the taxable income. So if you set up a profit center here in Hong Kong, it's very, very attractive. So in short, there's nothing to lose but a lot to gain by collaborating with an R&D center here in Hong Kong.
That's very good, Ivan. And I think one of the companies that have actually explained it best to me was that, you know, they come in with a project, and after all is said and done with the government support, they end up paying maybe a quarter of the project's cost to be done in Hong Kong, which is a great value add for them, because obviously it reduces the burn rate. If you're a Canadian company and you're looking to put some of your R&D in Hong Kong, it certainly helps you as a startup to reduce that burn rate that startups usually want to slow down for their R&D anyways. Next question is for Alex. Alex, you know, you've obviously been a success story for our one of our clusters in Hong Kong, which is the Hong Kong Science Technology Park, which is a very heavy R&D type of facility. And I know during your presentation, you said that you were able to raise over $50 million. And you also mentioned, you know, the placement of Hong Kong as far as being part of China and being able to tap into the resources of other major cities within the Greater Bay Area, such as Shenzhen, which is quickly becoming a dual city and partner with Hong Kong for that region. Can you share some of your experiences as far as, you know, how did you decide on Hong Kong? What was the experience like when you were raising funds? And as far as the Hong Kong Science Technology Park, how how good were they as far as being able to facilitate your entrance into that market? We'd love to hear a little bit more on that narrative. Thank you.
So sure. Well, our story with Hong Kong started before the kind of well-known riots, right? So we should, we've discussed this before, so I can talk about something like that. And I think a lot of people on the call may be concerned about that, and now they shouldn't. But at that time, it was a problem, actually, right? So we were, I a long time ago decided that you have to be in mainland in order to be very successful in AI-powered drug discovery, because that is the future. And whatever you hear currently in the media, right, there is a lot of negative news about China. And I think that it's very unfair in many ways, because whatever you do in healthcare, regardless of where you do it, is going to benefit everybody. And my opinion is that we should be apolitical when working in at least healthcare technology. Of course, now there is huge rivalry between the East and West because of the very rapid growth of China, and it's going to be the largest economy, I think, in a couple of years, right? And maybe twice the economy of the States in just maybe less than a decade. Of course, there will be a lot of negative publicity, and there will be a lot of protectionism, but in the healthcare space, we need to avoid that. So we thought about moving to China a long time ago, and Hong Kong seemed to be probably the best place, because it's perceived, well, it used to be perceived by the West as kind of a very friendly territory for the Western companies and for the Chinese companies, and a great bridge to China. So when we started the process in 2018, then the riots started, and it wasn't very easy to fundraise during that time, right? Because there was a lot of uncertainty, and those riots do not help anybody. And I'm very happy that the national security law has passed. However, we managed to close the round. Most of our investors are from the US and Singapore. We have some Chinese funds, but they're not the majority investors. And we thought that, like, I personally love Hong Kong for a very long time. You have to come there if you haven't been. It's probably one of the most amazing cities in the world. You can go hiking in some of the best spectacular places on the same day, and you can do business in the afternoon. And it's round-the-clock city. People are also reasonably hardworking and very professional, great financial system. And the most important highlight of Hong Kong is a stock exchange. So I would say it's the most important aspect that we haven't talked about. Most of the placements of the Chinese companies, and actually some of the Western companies, transpire in Hong Kong, and about I think half of the world's biotech IPOs by the amount of money and by the growth were placed on that stock exchange. And this year was really spectacular in that regard as well. So the Hong Kong Stock Exchange is the most amazing thing about Hong Kong. And we, of course, want to get on it one day. We also recognize that the Science Park is also the most amazing place to be from the quality of living standpoint. We never got a single penny from Hong Kong Science Park. So actually, if you are moving there and you want the money right away as an R&D organization, it's not going to happen, because it's not Singapore. You have to spend the money and then go through many bureaucratic processes to be able to get some reimbursement. So it's a very nice story when you hear about 60%, 40%, 50%. But that's if you actually look at the the actual numbers, if you're in the field, you will realize that those programs are designed for smaller startups that are coming out of the academia and very quickly consumed by the local professors starting up small businesses. And it's not designed for general business, but also if you are doing good business, you shouldn't be relying on government subsidies, right? It's actually, it's a bad policy to rely on government grants as your main source of business. So yeah, I just want to warn you that if you're getting into this into this field, into Hong Kong to get the money from the government, that's not the best place to do that. There are many better places to do that. And you are going to be, if you are a hot AI startup, right, they will actually treat you just like everybody else. It will not, you will not get any preferential treatment. There is no kind of core strategy like in Singapore, for example, where they highlighted some areas and they will support them if you go there. So if you are going for the government funding, better go Singapore and strategy. If you are going to go for some other areas, so great climate, great people, great access to mainland, that is Hong Kong. And I must say that in our area, where you are looking for people with very specific skill sets, so you need to have AI guys who are trained in biology and chemistry, there are very few people like that in Hong Kong. So actually in the world in general, but in Hong Kong specifically as well. And you would need to import. But here, Hong Kong government is actually pretty friendly, so they will allow you to bring in the people, and it takes a couple of months or 3 months to get some of those approved. So we managed to get one of the really cool recent doctorate students, doctors of computer science from Oxford, and we're hiring a few others. So bringing in the talent in AI. And you know, you have to realize that it's quite expensive to hire there. So there is an ICT program that you can apply for. We haven't gotten it yet, but we will try this program out, where the government subsidizes recent PhDs and postdocs to work for high technology companies like ours to gain experience, and you can subsidize part of their salaries. So we're exploring that. But in general, our experience with Hong Kong Science Park was amazing because it's just a great infrastructure, fast internet, very secure, very safe, and it's just a nice place to be in. Yeah, so don't expect the funding from there, but it's a very nice area, nice community, especially if you are in fintech or in apps or in other areas, not necessarily drug discovery, drug development. And also, I think that the tax rate in Hong Kong is very reasonable for both personal and income tax. There is no capital gains tax. So if you are looking for this kind of opportunities, that's the most amazing place on the planet to be in, yeah, for personal and commercial, from the just business sense. So that's all I have to say here.
Very good, Alex.
Happy to,
yeah, very good. So that's great, and thank you for your very honest opinion. Obviously, you've been through it, and so it's good to understand where the challenges were, and you know, it's good to also understand that companies that are looking to bring their R&D there, you know, they also need to also be bringing their A game as well, as far as being able to do some of that research, not just on a government subsidy, but also have the credibility and the ability to raise private funds through private investors as well. So, and I think that goes everywhere. I mean, it's obviously those challenges are everywhere, and good companies make it, and then the ones that maybe not as good, they don't make it. And I guess within healthcare, it's probably a good thing, because we want the best of the best when it comes to the type of care that we get. Next question will be for May. And May, your presentation was fantastic, and I think it certainly is a good way to segment to some of the questions that have been asked here on the panel, as far as the type of support that a Canadian company could potentially expect from the Canadian government and Export Development Canada to export some of their products to Hong Kong, which obviously is a great export destination, because many of Hong Kong's products are being imported from other regions. So perhaps you can tell us a little bit more about how you de-risk the initial exporting of a small to medium-sized company that is looking to go into Hong Kong and China, given the current, politically charged environment. How do you de-risk that?
Yes, so thank you, Dimitri. What I like to tell people is that we are bubble wrapper. Okay, we are bubble wrapper to make sure that on your first export contract, you're not going to get hurt, right? So by bubble wrapping our clients, what we do is, I give you a very concrete example. Okay, client get the first order in Hong Kong, right, and they're about to ship. When you ship in Hong Kong, or you ship anywhere around the world during COVID time, you might ship, but you don't know how it's going to end on the other side, right? So I give you a very concrete example. Client ship, go to Hong Kong, there's riot, or there's confinement. Your shipment end up being in front of the door of the company, but nobody's taking in the product. So product get lost, right? Your client will not want to pay because they didn't get the product, and you already spent the money shipping out, right? So what we said is that our insurance will not insure you against COVID, but we're going to insure you against all the risks related to COVID, okay? So if you ship and you don't get paid, we're going to pay you 90% of the value of the shipment, number one. Number two, we have specific situations, like, for example, let's say that you deal with Hong Kong, okay, and you deal it through a subsidiary, right? We're going to even allow you to insure the receivable of your subsidiary as if it's your own receivable, right? So the insurance extends for all the subsidiary as well, okay, to protect your company. So that's one. Number two, you ship, and then there's a problem. Like I give you an example. You product all the stuff, right? You're about to ship, and the other company say, I don't want you anymore, okay? You already spent the money producing the whole thing, and they don't want you. Here, that's a problem, right? So we have what we call contract frustration insurance, which means that we insure you from the moment that your product produce all the way to the end. If at any point in time they cancel the contract, then we're going to cover you the cost of productions, right? So you're not going to end up with a bunch of stock and not being able to do anything with it, right? So that's the two products that we can do. Number three, I've spoke about export help. Export help is a free service, right? So I have a lot of my clients sending me questions such as, I'm shipping, but I don't know what's going to happen on the other end. What do I do to protect myself? That's one of the most questions that I have, right? So basically, I sent a question to my colleagues in Ottawa, and depending where you're shipping and depending on the situation, they're going to advise you what's the best way to go in order to protect yourself against those kind of risks, right? So that's like the three main product that I see that we can help. But as I said, each company have their own history. Each company have their own reality, right? And the best way to go is really to pick up the phone and call us, right? Call us. We have a 5-minute conversation, a 10-minute conversation. We're going to see what you really need, and we're going to bubble wrap you so you're not going to get hurt when you ship your product outside of Canada. So give us a call. With 2,000 employees from around the world, so we're enough to answer to all of you guys' questions. Give us a call, and from there, we're going to find a way to help you to, have your first shipment outside of Canada without, major risk incurring to your company.
Very good. And I know that we are tight on time, but I also wanted to give the floor to Nassif. Thank you, May, for the very informative answer on how do you minimize risk when doing business overseas, especially within Hong Kong and China. And your contact details will be provided. So, of course, any Canadian company that wants to export to China or Hong Kong will certainly be able to use your services. But Nassif, so obviously, you have been working in the robotics and medical device sector for a long time, and you have, extensive experience within the Chinese, Hong Kong market, both in your current role, but in previous roles as well. But I wanted to gauge your understanding of the challenges that you've found so far as far as being able to partner and do business and actually get your product into the Chinese Hong Kong market. What major challenges do you see? And we'll be wrapping this up in a couple minutes, maybe 2 minutes for you to answer us on that as well.
Yeah, of course. So thank you, Dimitris, and thank you, everyone. One of the main challenges when doing business in China or Hong Kong or Asia is the timeless between countries. So in my previous role, for example, supporting people in their project, it's challenging when you are very far from them, and this is the reason why it pushed the company to have an office in Shanghai and to have people there helping and assisting people, the users in China and other countries in Asia. So yeah, so time lapse is challenging. You have the language, and again, so having office in China or in Hong Kong can help you much to get over these kind of barriers.
Fantastic, very good, Nassif. I really do appreciate it. So, thank you again to all our panelists. I just wanted to remind the viewers that both your contact and also the webinar will actually be circulated, so it has been recorded. And with that, I'll hand it over to Ben to do some of the closing remarks.
Thank you, Dimitros. Very informative panel. I'm sure we have probably another 2 hours to go on if we continue. Time's a bit restrained here, but thank you all the panelists. Very interesting conversation. And thank you all the attendees. As Dimitros was mentioning, that we will be circulating the recording links as well as the presentation and the speakers coordinates to all of you upon request. To wrap up, just so you know, the ACHKC-BA, the next webinar, it'll be happening on the 3rd of November, which is next week, hosting by our Hong Kong family, so the HKTDC, the Hong Kong Trade Development Council, HKETO, the Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office, regarding the benefit. The subject of the webinar will be to benefiting from the HKCB advantage in a new normal. So it'll be a very interesting panel to not to miss. Another one, local webinar that Montreal section will be producing on November the 8th is in the subject of cross-border M&A. So we'll be sending out the links later to all of you. If you're interested, please feel free to register. Once again, thank you all of you, and stay safe. I hope you all well. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Come to Hong Kong.
Yes.